Shana Tova. My name is Dan Alpert, and this is my wife, Kara. First, I would like to thank Rabbi Brown and Cantor Becker for asking us to speak tonight. We joined Scarsdale Synagogue over 20 years ago, and like many of you, moved from the hustle and bustle of New York City for our first foray into suburban living. We reluctantly exchanged the energy and vitality of 3rd Avenue for the serenity of Kent Road. When Kara and I took our first stroll in our new neighborhood, we saw no one. Not a soul, maybe a squirrel. But at the bottom of our block, there was this temple, and we had this instinctive desire to go inside. And almost immediately, we both knew Scarsdale Synagogue was going to be an important part of our lives. The warm and Hamish environment stirred up our own rich childhood memories, including family holiday gatherings and Friday night Shabbat dinners, and we knew we wanted the same for our children, Lauren and Evan. We have not been disappointed. There was a bris, Tat Shabbat, B'nai Mitzvah, junior choir, confirmation, volunteering at Sunday school, working as a Mazel Tov counselor, serving on committees related to synagogue life in Hebrew school, and Kara and I have both served on the board, and most recently, I have been co-president of the Brotherhood along with Richard Primoff and David Noddiff. But with all of our involvement in synagogue life, we value attending Shabbat services the most. If one accepts the premise that the synagogue is the most vital element in the continuity of Jewish tradition, spirituality, and education, and Shabbat represents the very core of the synagogue, then by the law of transitivity, our Shabbat services may very well be the heart of Jewish life. And that is why the Worship Revolution, a movement designed by our clergy to energize our Shabbat experience, is so important to us, and why I am honored to have the opportunity to contribute to this concept in some meaningful way through Brotherhood programs. Now, I don't want to sound too sanctimonious, because there are certainly Shabbat services I don't attend, but I've come to realize I need to do better. Often I'll tell myself, I can't go to services tonight. I would love to, but I've had a really rough week, I'm exhausted, and I just need to relax and unwind, which usually ends up with me watching the Knicks lose yet again, or falling asleep without my CPAP while watching Shark Tank reruns. And apparently that's not a very good look. And that's exactly when I need to attend services the most. When I do, I'm never disappointed. Between prayer, sermon, and song, I always leave the temple feeling revitalized and spiritually uplifted. All of us here tonight on Erev Rosh Hashanah have a personal connection to Judaism that inspires us to make sure Scarsdale Synagogue thrives as a focal point of our community. Whether you were brought up in a Reform, conservative, or Orthodox home, or are a Jew by choice, we all share that critical common thread. For me, the deep appreciation of our incredible history and the perseverance required to overcome obstacles has filled me with a sense of pride and an obligation to try my absolute best to honor those whose lives were taken just because they were Jews. Perhaps it is not lost on me because I grew up in a Queens neighborhood that was a refuge for many Holocaust survivors. My father was a sergeant during World War II whose Army division liberated a German concentration camp, and my mother and grandmother were fortunate enough to escape Vienna in 1938, shortly after the German annexation of Austria. Listen, our lives are busy, really busy. We are overscheduled and demands from work and family life are as great as ever. That is why Brotherhood has worked to provide a Friday night worship experience that is an intersection of the spiritual with the social and intellectual. Our events combine a Shabbat service followed by dinner and a talk with time for Q&A. For those of you who have never attended one of these services, I strongly encourage you to do so. A lot of chicken is consumed, and the speakers, including our own congregants, are leaders in their respective fields. This year, we have an extremely diverse and eclectic group of guests who will discuss topics ranging from letters written to the New York Times editorial department to national politics, Jewish culture and history, social action, and Israel. Last year, the Worship Revolution was a tremendous success, with a palpable increase in energy, attendance, and sense of community. We are eager to build on this foundation and ask for your participation. I truly believe you will find it worthwhile and rewarding. A happy and healthy New Year. Shana Tova.